we work on 3 aspects: the educational practitioners themselves, their capacity. We do professional development differently than how it is typically practiced. So we change. So basically the change is happening not only on our target audience, which is the teachers, it's also us. Because this is where I am. I learned how to do it differently. I learned how I had to force myself to approach this whole idea of professional development differently. We also try to target and touch on what need to change in the organizational structure. So these are the 3 domains. We enter into a school, we form a team. We tell them, pick your team. We don't impose on them anything. Throughout the years, we have some criteria that we encourage them to consider, including, for example, that it seems the most successful members of a school to become agent of change are the ones who are kind of mid-early career, so not the newcomers, and not the ones who will be retiring a few years from now. So even like we were able to see that there is an age group like 30 to 40 that seems to be the good candidates to really engage. So we form this team, we ask them to form this team, we guide them and work with them as we build their capacity, and I'll tell you a bit more about exactly what are the competencies to build partnership with their community as they work. And for some of those, like it's totally a new thing, we guide them to build their own vision based on their own need, and then we want to leave them with a strategic plan for at least 5 years ahead, which is, again, in the context where I am working in, is unheard of. It's either those strategic plans that are imposed by the policymakers and they are literally papers they've never looked at. They just write them and somebody signed them for them. So we want them to really develop a live document that they refer back to, and they know what they have aspirations, and they have clear plans on what to do 5 years ahead. And we think by doing that, we are encouraging innovation, and also we're hoping that they will become self-renewing. We stay with them for a very long time, not really quickly. As we're working with them, we found what are the key competencies that we want to build this leadership capacity. I'll flip the image for you, and here they are. We teach them how to do inquiry, so that's the actual research part. And then we highlight that this inquiry is not research for research, it's because we want to generate evidence to make good decisions. We also start to teach them that when you make decisions, you've got to think about priority. In a environment when there is so much need, you've got to think about your priority and be strategic and be driven by needs. We encourage them to engage in reflective dialogue, questioning themselves, their colleagues, questioning what they do, and going as deep as possible in this questioning and engaging in dialogue, planning. But we also teach them about planning, that if you monitor it closely, you can change your plan anytime. Because we went and we found in some places, especially in the Gulf, where they copied a lot of what you do, that they've got their plan, and then instead of the plan being a tool, it becomes the goal. So my goal is to fill the plan. My goal is to write the plan. And then the plan becomes the thing. Like, okay, what if whatever you projected is not feasible? What if you couldn't find the resources you said you would be finding? What do you do? What do you think they do when they make the plan the goal? They make it, they fake it. They fake it. They literally write reports that, oh, things happened, which then they haven't happened. But it's not because they want to do that. It's because there's no way to make them happen. If I am to, so they are kind of caught between, I cannot change the plan, and I've got to say what happened. So we kind of try to tell them, to hell with the plan, change the plan. Why do you care about the plan? As long as you monitor and you record what you are changing. So this is a really big thing for them. We work on, of course, because we form a team, we coach them to collaborate better, to deprivatize and not be afraid to share their problems. This is a huge thing for us, especially in our culture. we make them notice that actually the learning happens all the time. And this is what we know about professional development. It's not in the workshop. It's like every moment, every day, something you're doing. And the more conscious, the more aware of it, the more learning you'll get. We also capitalize on the mentoring. And this is typically what saves me. I have colleagues who come to my office and tell them, these are the competencies and they are culturally relevant. And they say, we have the same thing and I'm working on the same thing. And I tell them, okay, especially if they are from the US, my colleagues from there say, are you working on this? Are you working on coaching your teams on systematic, documented practice? No. And the reason this is so important for us is because we are in oral culture. People talk. If you ask them their dream, like now, if you ask them about their work with me, they'll tell you, oh, she's nice, she helps us. But if you can convince her not to force us to write this plan, I have it here. And that's, they will tell me, literally, I have it here. I was like, no, you don't have it here. We better write everything down because this is how we reflect, this is how we make decisions, this is how we do all that. So this is kind of an example of those competencies that we work. We came up with something called the TAMAM improvement journey, and it's a job-embedded process where we come to them and we say, assess your own needs, pick what is the improvement that you think is the most important priority for you now. We challenge them along the way and we coach them. So these competencies, we don't lecture them. As they are going around here, we catch them not collaborating. We tell them, time to collaborate. So we go through this, as you will recognize it, setting goals, designing, implementation, evaluation. So it's the cycle of any planning just blown out and with a lot of details. We have a template that goes with that is kind of 20 pages with all these many little questions on every what we call station. So we take them through this journey, and this typically takes two years, in some schools 3 years, for one team to go through that, the whole training, to really form that capacity. Okay. The other thing also, I told you that we do the professional development differently. So we think of it as stages. We build capacity. This is very much from Marzano. I don't have the caption here that it is, but it is. And skills, then we want them to practice, then we expect them to implement it, and then we want them to become self-directed. What we found out in our part of the world is that we cannot start it. I spent some time, 4-5 months, until they are even willing to try what I'm asking them to try. So people are typically discouraged, disenchanted with people who will come from university like ourselves and tell them, I've got a new idea, I've got a good idea, I want you to try it. It takes up quite a bit. Not only that, the system and the skill level vary so much to an extreme that whatever, if I take the programs that are here that tell me, okay, all you need to do is teach them about inquiry, and this is one strategy, and there's plenty of really great things to learn from. The problem is, unless I come to the school and figure out exactly where they are at in their skill level, I cannot make any assumption. I really need to see where they are at. So somehow, how you come to college, our students come sometime and we ask them for prerequisite courses. They finished high school, but you cannot get into this biology course unless you pass this prerequisite. We do a lot of prerequisites before we launch into that. And this really makes sometimes the process, the journey, the impact much harder to reach. So throughout that, we do really close monitoring. So it's really intense, like the coaches that work with us, they interact really intensely. And this is why we still work with small groups because, it's very major power. We also focus, as we were going, we noticed that this is a very, very important domain. We focus on their emotional response throughout. So exactly like I told you, we kind of have a barometer, who's more excited than who's more likely to believe us than who when we start, but then throughout disappointment, especially at the beginning, any little disappointment kind of brings them down. And then you have to come and say, it's okay, it happens with everybody. Let's try again. Let's try to learn again. So we really try to sustain their commitments specifically because we want them around for an extended period of time. If we don't have that extended period of time with them, the learning will never happen. We know it will take a while for it to happen. So we work a lot on that aspect. The other thing that I always, like we created this slide because I found myself always saying this, which is we are working. I needed to acknowledge every minute, every time I meet with them, I know you are working under really challenging conditions. I know that you have a lot of demands. I know as with the current structure, you have a very narrow space as teachers specifically to move and to be the innovative agent. So I am aware of that. So why don't we together make the best out of what is there? This is kind of, we have a slogan, we keep repeating it. So this is really a critical part of our professional development. Now, when it comes to the organizational structure, part of our paradigm shift is that we tell them we don't want cosmetic changes. We want in the foundation. So this is why we focus a lot on the new professional beliefs that we want them to adopt in the school. And as we work with them, we encourage them, so if this symbolizes their structure, we encourage them to kind of take it apart. And when I say structure, roles, tasks, schedules, why do we have schedule where we align all grade level together or whether we align it vertically? All these structural decisions that we make in our schools, they question them. And as they start working with us, they start building these processes that takes them to a more coherent, we hope that it will take them, but they start building these processes that align better with supporting the work that they are doing. And this, again, this always happens with us in this school. When we do this professional development, I told you in the beginning, we really build on strength. So I'll just highlight a couple of the strengths that we built on, the communal orientation. The Arab country, like if you go there, have food with us, salt and bread a few times, you're part of the family. And there is really loyalty that develops and warmth and connection. And this is really natural and it comes up really easily. So we capitalize on that to build a professional community, which is really rare there. We don't have professional communities. People don't come together because they are principals. Let's sit together and talk. So we really kind of play that a lot. We play on this positive deviance with all the conditions I've alluded to. The thing that is always the most surprising to me is finding those principals or teachers under the toughest of circumstances and doing the right thing. Right, between quotation, what we think, what we know best is right, as educators and researchers. And it's stunning that they are doing it. The problem is that they are doing it in an isolated manner, and they are doing it once, and we had many examples, like in my lifetime, of schools that went completely downhill because they lost their principal. The principal retired, the principal died. In one school, they kept keeping that same amazing principal until literally he died at the school. 80 years old, it was a private school, everybody knows about. So basically, we try to take those and derive from them standard practices, and we tell them, let's support that with policies. So this is